Hey guys, I'm going to show you how I made my anchor for my Trotline. This is a mixing bowl I got from Dollar Tree. Then I got a trash can and I cut it all up. And what I did was I got these bolts here and I ran it through it with 2 bolts and a washer. So the ones I'm using are the ALC ones, and then 2 bolts, and then this here. All right, and the eye bolt with the nut is 3/8 inch by 8 inches. Okay, so I'm gonna mix up some concrete, and what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna pour it in here and let it sit. And then once it's cured, then I'll paint the outside of the concrete so I can seal it with some spray paint. All right. Okay, so we're putting some concrete in the bucket so we can mix it up. Now, this concrete had rocks in it. I thought we got the one without the rocks in it, so I would recommend probably using the one without the rocks because we couldn't get the rocks in between the wire mesh that I took off the trash can. So we had to actually end up squishing that to get it to go around it. So if you can get it without the rocks, that'd probably be better. All right, so I squished it. We just kept filling it, and the containers I'm using are just mixing bowls from the Dollar Tree. All in all, these weights cost less than like $10 to make. As you can see, I'm pushing the rocks down in there, and the wire mesh is now flattened. If you didn't have the rocks, then you could leave the wire mesh open, which would cover more of the surface area. However, I'm squishing it, and then once I get all the rocks in there and everything, I'll straighten up that eye bolt. Also, you probably want to wear gloves because after I did this, my hands felt very dry, and I had to put some lotion and stuff on them. So, this worked out very well. In the end, I spray painted it and everything, but I didn't put a clear coat on them. What I did is I used epoxy. However, the epoxy, because I didn't have a clear coat on them, actually sat there and had the paint run a little bit. So spray with a clear coat first, and then you can actually put your epoxy on later. Okay, the edges were also a little sharp and jagged. So what we did was we took some sandpaper and went around the edges of that. This is the concrete that I used. And again, this has rocks in it. So maybe you can get some without rocks in your area. It also did not give an exact nice finish on the edges because there was like air bubbles and where the concrete didn't go to the edge. But it still is functionable. Hey guys, welcome back. I'm going to show you how to paint these weights that I made from concrete. Okay, so the first thing I'm doing is I put them on bricks so that they can dry from underneath, and then it gives it more air to get to it from when I spray low. And then I'm going to cover the whole thing in black, let it dry, and then I'll do the color combination. Okay, so this really took the black paint very, very well, and I'm just using a Home Depot spray paint for this part. It absorbed in really, really nice, and I could have stopped here, but, you know, I wanted to get a little creative and add some color. I chose the 3 colors that are in my kayak, which is like a black, an orange, and a teal. Now, the black on my kayak goes more into like a dark, dark gray. So, you know, the 3 colors worked out great, and I'm actually spraying it while it's wet because it like will blend a little bit better, and I'm hitting some darker spots and some lighter spots, and then I'm just letting it get like a couple different like blotches, like as you can see how it's like really deep in some spots and then really light in others. That's because when I go back over it, that's going to give a blending effect almost like an airbrush would be. Okay, so once you have the base coat of the blue and orange in the certain areas, you're going to go back over it with black again, and then you're going to repeat this process a couple of times because when you're going back over, you're actually covering the teal with the orange and the black and then vice versa, and you're just going to keep mixing the colors together to give that like multicolored, kind of like a spacey look. All right, so you'll see me do this a couple more times as I go through, and then you can see the finished product. Okay, so make sure you're always spraying to test your paint before you actually start spraying on your product, because if it's not shaken up completely, it'll come out and it'll run. So you want to avoid that by doing that. See how I'm just kind of spraying it there? Now this time I'm spraying it with orange first. The first time I sprayed it with teal first. It doesn't really matter which direction you go. I'm just kind of messing around with it to see which color is going to give me the most pop. And you know, it didn't really make a difference, because in the end, when I kept mixing the colors together, they look completely different, but they look like they're the same pattern. Alright, so I'm going to finish spraying the second one, and then I'll show you the finished product shortly. Okay, so here is the finished product. Now, unfortunately, the light doesn't pick up the actual coloring when I'm taking a photo of it. But you can really see the colors pop in person, and you can kind of see it on the video a little bit better. Now, I will say that if you're going to use epoxy, you need to do a clear coat first, and then after that dries, then you can do the epoxy, because the colors will fade and blend a little bit more if you just do strictly epoxy. And don't cover your PVC with epoxy if you're going to leave it outside, because the dew will ruin it. All right, thanks. Have a wonderfully blessed day.